What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship. Today, at the request of one of our patrons, the Black Dragon Disciple Lord Menant, we're covering probably what is one of the most obscure gods in Pathfinder, who is also one of the most relevant. Today, we're talking about Feronia. I'm sorry out there to anybody who was looking forward to the other two core deities in our string of four, and hey, Proof Mufasa, it would have been Iyomade, but this guy here cut you off, and you're in a party together in Doomsday Dawn, so I'll let you guys work it out there. Anyway, be sure to like and subscribe, means everything to us, and this episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship was brought to you in part by the guy who requested it, Lord Menant. Thank you so much, my friend. Now, let's dive in. So in ancient Roman religion, Feronia was a goddess associated with wildlife, fertility, health, and abundance. She was the goddess who granted freedom to slaves, as well as civil rights to the most humble part of society, so she was, of course, especially honored among plebs and freed slaves. The goddess has been testified as also having prophetic qualities, as well as serving as a goddess of travels, travelers, fire, and waters. Now, in Pathfinder, it's an entirely different story. Feronia in Pathfinder is a little-known demigoddess native to the plane of fire who briefly took the archdevil Dispater as a spouse. This union was pretty short. It lasted only a few centuries, but it produced the Imperial Lord Regothiel, one of my favorite gods in Pathfinder, to tell you the truth. And hey, we talked about him forever and ever ago. Follow this card right up here to learn more about the General of Vengeance. Present day, Feronia and Dispater remain on friendly terms and correspond once a year, but they never meet in person, and that's what Paizo gives us. That's literally 100% of what we have for this god. So today, it's all about that Black Dragon Gaming homebrew. If you guys think you could do this any better, as always, throw it in the comments. We'll roll it all together into one big thing. For now, let's just dive straight in. Feronia is true neutral. Her domains are destruction, fire, liberation, and protection, with the subdomains ash, catastrophe, freedom, and smoke. Her favorite weapon is the bastard sword, and her symbol, a bonfire under the stars. To perform her deific obedience. Oh, and by the way, both her deific obedience and a little prayer that's been whipped up, she doesn't necessarily allow for paladins or anti-paladins, what with that true neutralness, but we've got it anyway, is brought to you today courtesy of Michael Baker, another patron of the channel, who also, if you didn't know, is a freelance author, and if you'd like to hear about his work, follow this card right up here, and you can hear me chat with him for an hour. For now, though, to perform that obedience, seek out a remote location out of sight of civilization. Remove all garments, place them out of sight, and use whatever materials you have at hand to start as big of a bonfire as possible. A wildfire is also permissible, but not required if starting one would cause you or your loved ones to come to harm. Meditate on the nature of the flame for 1 hour, sitting as close to the flames as you can without causing yourself harm. In return, gain a +4 bonus on fortitude saves to resist damage taken from being in a hot environment. Evangelist boons grant us Flaming Sphere 3 times a day, Fireball twice a day, or once a day, Wall of Fire. At level 16, the power of the plane of fire flows through your veins. When you cast a spell that deals fire damage, it deals +1 point of damage for each die rolled, and at level 20, your insight into the fertile flame's wisdom allows you to burn things that otherwise would be immune to your wrath. When you cast a spell that deals fire damage, it bypasses all resistances and immunities anything affected by the spell might possess. Simple, easy peasy. You're welcome, Blaster Sorcerers. Exalted boons grant us Cure Light Wounds 3 times a day, Restoration twice a day, or once a day Healing Flames, affecting your enemies as though they were evil, and your allies as though they were good. At level 16, as Feronia once wed an archdevil and gave birth to what would become an Imperial Lord, you understand that fire cares not for those whom it warms or burns. Spells you cast that deal half fire damage and half damage from a divine source, such as Flame Strike, always deal full damage to creatures affected by them, regardless of alignment, and at level 20, Feronia's sacred flame burns within your heart, and you know it to be stronger than the flames of virtue or malice. You become immune to fire damage, as well as divine damage originating from a source that would deal fire damage. Again, think something like Flame Strike or a Balor exploding. When you are affected by divine fire damage, as an immediate action, you may unleash a gout of fire from your hands, which deals an amount of fire damage equal to the amount of divine damage you would have taken from the effect to one target of your choice within 30 feet. The target is allowed a reflex save for half damage equal to 10 plus half your hit dice plus your wisdom. Sentinel boons grant us Fire Breath 3 times a day, Flame Shield twice a day, or once a day, Trial by Fire. At level 16, Feronia's flames burn away anything that would hold you down or cause you harm. You can cast Freedom of Movement 3 times a day as a swift action, and at level 20, Feronia teaches you that the destruction of fire can also yield new life. You gain the Self-Resurrection and Shroud of Flame supernatural abilities of a phoenix for a number of rounds per day, equal to your level. These rounds, of course, do not need to be consecutive. And now, like I said, we have a little something different. Something that we don't normally see unless the god is within one step of lawful good or chaotic evil. But we've got a prayer to Feronia. Again, courtesy of Michael Baker, freelance author, Black Dragon disciple, longtime friend of the channel, super cool dude. It goes like so. Let me be the flame in the wilderness, guiding and guarding, providing light. My place is in the wild, my light for any. Let me be the flame in the wilderness, burning and bearing for new life to live. My place is in the wild, with connection to none. Like my mistress, I am free, and to all others shall I give the same respect, save those who would smother the flame of life. Like my mistress, I am free, and I do as I will, to help and to harm, for this life is not meant to be constrained, for the flame is free and fickle. It serves and it slays, it warms and it wounds. I understand, and I choose to follow. Again, Michael, thank you so much for your help, dude. I think you do these a lot better than I do. And really, you can probably expect this dude to make a recurring appearance here on the channel when we have non-core deities that haven't seen the support that we'd like them to. One final bit we'll add on here is Fer Onias Boon. Like we've seen in Planar Adventures, a lot of them are actually really, really good. These boons, again, are handed out at GM discretion when a player completes a particularly arduous task associated with the god. For Feronia, the character is granted 20 fire points that can be spent at any time as a free action to increase the DC of spells they cast with the fire descriptor, or to add an untyped bonus on any d20 roll they make to overcome spell resistance when casting spells with the fire descriptor. These points can be spent after the result of the roll is determined, but must be spent immediately, and this ability can be used as many times as the character wishes. Now, the thing about Feronia is Feronia doesn't have a lot of information in Pathfinder, and also Feronia in real life is really, really different than the Feronia we see that got with an archdevil and made an imperial lord. So really, to be honest with you, if I were to GM for a character who worshipped Feronia, I think honestly we have to flip the script on what that god is, what that god does. That's definitely something I like to do a lot in my campaigns, because personally I believe that the concept of the divine, both on planet Earth and in games like Pathfinder, is something that a mortal mind should have a lot of problems grasping. For example, if your character at level like 3 or 4 meets up with, say, Iomedae, it's probably a very mind-altering experience, to say the least. Best case scenario, you've got an oracle. Worst case scenario, heaven has a new permanent resident. And I suppose this is why the gods have heralds. This is why, like in Iomedae's case, Peace through Vigilance would fly down and enact her will. And for a lesser-known god like Feronia, it stands to reason that the story of that god, the things they're about, might get a little convoluted between the outer planes and the material planes. So again, yeah, if it's a player worshipping Feronia, we're breaking out the old Roman god, we're tying that in, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, little column A, little column B, we'll make it work. Now, if I were to play a character who worshipped Feronia, it's probably like a secondary relationship to a character who worships Regathiel, but also like pays lip service to the mother and maybe father, probably not father. Yeah, no Dispater here. Just the mother of the Imperial Lord of Vengeance. Pathfinder is a setting where several gods exist, and pantheism is definitely just as fair of a religion, in my opinion. Actually, come to think of it, I'm about 90% sure the iconic summoner is a pantheist. Can't confirm. Somebody look it up. I think I'm right, though. Anywho, that is what I would do. Primarily Regathiel, but a little bit of splash in there for his mother. Possibly even the other way around, worshipping the woman who gave birth to the man who leads the armies of heaven on crusades against the lower planes. But I digress. What do you guys think about Feronia? I know it's a god that's not super covered. Is there anything you would add? Anything you would change? Is this a god you want to see have more coverage come down in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? And hey, maybe you can play that campaign in Fantasy Grounds Ultimate Edition. We're giving that away right here on the channel. Follow this card right here to be directed to that giveaway. And remember, patronage at any tier gives you a second entry in all our giveaways and helps you get in some 2nd Edition one-shots, which should be running real soon. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship, where we talk about another core deity who's been on the request line for quite a while. Hey, Proof Mufasa, we did it. Next up, it's Ioma Day. The video drops next Wednesday.